Literally, as I was uploading a video about how Nintendo Today would become very important to Nintendo's future, Nintendo Today dropped the news of the Legend of Zelda movie release date. This is consequential for so many reasons, but for this video, I just want to pick out three key things that I think are worth paying attention to in the news and in the presentation of it. Firstly, let's talk the actual date. 27th of March 2027 seems a long way off, but it is now less than 2 years away. This means that Nintendo only have a short window of time to actually get the thing made, and given how long post-production time usually is on these kinds of CGI-intensive films with so many special effects to include, it feels quite plausible that there could be a full year of this. I think, therefore, it's 70% likely that we will see the start of principal photography within the next year. Now, it's possible, in fact, perhaps likely, that they might not want to draw attention to the production in this sense. It's not uncommon for very secretive films to use secret names and have red, unphotocopiable script pages. It could be that it's only in retrospect that the true dates are even known. It's even possible that the production may already be well underway in secret locations across the globe. Let's hope that Nintendo keep their secrets and manage to film without too much undue attention, but inevitably, in a leak-prone industry, there is a risk that things get out. This is not going to be like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, where it's all contained within an animation studio. If you don the iconic green cap and go riding around a horse outdoors, it's unlikely that people won't put two and two together. This is just one of the ways that partnering with a major studio is probably going to be helpful, as Avi Arad will have had experience with managing filming in deep secrecy before. A second reason I think this news is particularly consequential is that I think it gives a lot of shape to Nintendo's schedule in the years ahead. We know that 2025 is the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. First game, and in April 2026, we have the second Super Mario Bros. Movie, basically concluding what I fully expect to be a half-year carnival of plumbing-themed goodness. 2026, though, is the Zelda anniversary. This isn't entirely authentic, of course, as Zelda's anniversary date is actually February of 2026, but that doesn't desperately matter. Holiday 2026 going into 2027 is a perfectly decent approximation and gives Nintendo some breathing room after Mario before plunging into its next big franchise celebration. Unlike the Mario anniversary, Nintendo has been rather patchy on when it does and doesn't serve up some Zelda action. 2021 was, to be fair, mid-pandemic, but still the anniversary got barely a mention. However, I really think that this is the time for them to go to town. For one thing, they have a literal calendar app, which will make anniversaries a far bigger deal potentially than they would be otherwise. I have covered Nintendo's attitude to anniversaries in a full separate video, which I will link at the end, but the reasons for putting Zelda at the center of events are going to be clear. Mario is their biggest franchise, and Zelda is a solid number two, at least if we set aside Pokemon, which Nintendo officially owns only 33% of, although effectively their control is much more extensive. The Pokemon Company, of course, have long had broad operational independence, and in any event, Pokemon has its own massive anniversary in 2026, which Zelda will not want to collide with. So putting the movie as the capper to a Zelda run should hopefully do for Zelda what the Super Mario Bros. Movie did for Mario and massively lift attention to Zelda in this period. I fully expect us to have a major Zelda game by the end of 2027 to celebrate, and since a new generation is almost certainly out of the question so soon after Tears of the Kingdom, I come back to the only one that makes sense to me, almost the founding stone of the Zelda narrative in the three-dimensional space at least, Ocarina of Time. Of course, this can be a risky bet. The first Mario movie not only didn't have a game linked to it directly, but actually had an unusually long drought for new first-party games, punctuated only by Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which was of course a Ubisoft title. In that case, though, the Switch had such a deep bench of Mario content to fall back on that it wasn't really a major issue. I think Zelda is in a very different situation, and while they may want to push out previous entries, it seems to me likely that they will want at least one or two major Switch 2 efforts to show for themselves. At any rate, I promised 3 points that I think are of note from this announcement, and point 3 is the method of the announcement. With Mario, we have become used to Shigeru Miyamoto personally interceding to share news and talk through the joys of Nintendo and particularly the Super Mario Bros. Movie. But here we had no Eiji Aonuma, no Miyamoto, not even a Yoshiaki Koizumi appearance. I have talked before about the creeping depersonalization of Nintendo's messaging. In the time of Iwata, they really wanted big individuals to take the reins of promotion, but Miyamoto can't do the same role forever. Even he will one day want to stop jetting across the planet, sorting out Nintendo's fires. Meanwhile, even if Aonuma doesn't retire himself, his main job isn't as a film executive or even a marketing guru, but as the person in charge of the EPD branch developing Zelda. Nintendo has always been cautious about how much it exposes its top personnel, and while I don't think they'll be hidden away forever, things like the Nintendo developer interviews on the website prove that they do have an interest in showing some behind-the-scenes narration. I do think the days of personality-led shows, including of many directs, are probably nearing an end. Takahashi hosting the Nintendo Directs feels like an aberration now in Nintendo's approach to these kinds of presentations. The Indie Directs and the partner showcases have long gone without individuals anchoring them. To be clear, that doesn't stop them having individuals walk onto the stage when required to personalize the message. We've always seen this with Aonuma popping up, or Sakamoto, or Miyamoto. But generally speaking, I don't think Nintendo wants the narrative to be about the people but the product, and it now has the opportunity through Nintendo Today to basically deliver a crisp, to the point, depersonalized message to consumers, information only. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there will come a year in the Switch 2's life when we don't see a single video from Nintendo featuring a key developer at all. That may be sad in some respects, as I love seeing these guys, and I think it's fantastic for people to have an understanding of the personalities at play, but these games are all huge team efforts, and it's not really fair to expect someone simply by dint of seniority to automatically become a global celebrity and game promoter. Clearly, there are a number of people who have no problem doing so. Masahiro Sakurai ran a YouTube channel himself, for one example, but it's not necessarily the case that there is an overlap in skill set, and it's very much in Nintendo's interest to avoid any one figure becoming too closely associated with the company, especially in an age where the walls of privacy are thin and the potential exists for someone who says or does the wrong thing to bring shame on an organization, shame still being a much bigger part of Japanese culture perhaps than many Western ones. I don't think Yuji Naka's plight has greatly hurt Sonic the Hedgehog, but he hadn't been associated with Sonic for nearly 2 decades and has not been pushed into the spotlight nearly as much as some of Nintendo's key figures had been. I'm not casting aspersions on any of the wonderful people who make Nintendo games, but just pragmatically, having a corporate front instead of a personality-led approach solves a whole lot of problems, including potential problems which may never come to light. And I think this movie announcement is another mile marker on the route to that more depersonalized future. At any rate, it's pretty exciting to see the Nintendo Today app already taking its place at the center of the Nintendo ecosystem. I've talked previously about how Nintendo seem to be in a place at the moment where they're having seasons of announcements chained together consecutively, and I guess we can look forward to a lot more soon, and possibly even before next Wednesday if they really want to whet people's appetites for more. The last time I put up a video, as soon as it was uploading, there was an announcement, so perhaps as this one goes out, there will be something new as well. Speaking of whetting appetites though, do check out my previous deep dive on Nintendo's anniversaries up here, and otherwise I shall thank you for watching and look forward to seeing you again for another Nintendo Forecast.